The headline medical stories that affect you and your family. This is What's Happening in Health.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to What's Happening in Health. We are so grateful you're here this Sunday morning. Got a great 90-minute show for you today. There is nothing better than delicious treats that you can bake and eat for a good cause, of course. In studio today, we want to welcome Barb. She is the baker along with her husband, Bob. Hello to both of you. Barb uses her baking to raise money for cancer research. We can't wait to share her story of survival, which of course impacts the family. So glad to have you back in house, Barb. And beating burnout. We recently had a chance to meet the founder of Tawanda Wellbeing. Tammy Waldron teaches workshops on using your own energy at Aviatra in Covington and across the country by Zoom. She is here to share small steps that can lead to big changes. That's all coming up on What's Happening in Health. But first, a quick headline for you and wait no more today. Those new weight loss medications are changing the way we eat out. Those medications are mainly the injectable drugs. We know them as Ozempic, Wegovy, semaglutide. They slow down the absorption of food in the gut so you're less hungry and you eat less and lose weight. But a report from the National Restaurant News Association says that these medications are also reshaping our appetites. Don't be surprised if your favorite restaurant has a few new changes on the menu. They say many are actually adding what they call GLP-1 appetizers and entrees. They're high in protein, lower in fat, and they have smaller portions. How do you like that? All right, on now to our top story this half hour. It's in Waiting for Life. A toddler we first introduced you to last fall just met his match for a living kidney donor. He's been on dialysis, which filters his blood since his own kidneys can't, since he was 3 days old.
So after further testing, they determined that his right kidney didn't exist and his left kidney had cysts all over it, so it wasn't functioning.
This was Archie last November when we first met him at his Kentucky home.
Where's baby Sissy?
At 17 months old, Archie needed an adult to be his living donor because, as Dr. Charles Varnell of Ohio Cincinnati Children's Hospital told me,
it's a pretty small surgery, so having the larger blood vessels tends to be technically easier from a surgical standpoint.
And guess what? Just recently, at Archie's second birthday party, Archie met his match. Her name is Shannon.
She reached out and said that she was a match and that she was going through all of the testing.
Shannon is the wife of a cousin.
So Archie is finally getting his kidney.
When I spoke to Archie's parents, Austin and Francesca, today, they could not be more grateful.
The smallest thing can affect someone's life in the greatest way.
So this week, the ever-energetic Archie is scheduled for transplant surgery. Now, they have a new prayer request. Not just that Archie will come through the procedure well, but
Definitely for the donor as well and her speedy recovery.
that 8-hour procedure expected to give Archie, if you can believe it, even more energy.
That was one of the first things they told us, that he'll have more energy. And we're like, I don't know what we're going to do.
A fitting gift, they say, from what happens when you're given the gift of life. So Archie's parents said that they will keep us up to date on his progress, and as we know more, we will share it with you. All right, just ahead, how to partner biking with Metro. We'll share it in Healthy on the Go. And Barb is in-house. She is baking to raise money for cancer research. She's here with her husband, Bob, going to share her own survival story and some sweet ways we can all support her mission. Stay with us on What's Happening in Health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Metro and Gastro Health.
In Healthy on the Go today, if you want to improve your health in the warmer months, you might want to ride your bike. And if you can only bike part way to work, or you want to ride somewhere to ride your bike, you may not know that Metro is bike friendly. You can take it with you on the bus. Their storage area will accommodate bikes. We recently talked to those that coordinate Bike to Work Day to hear more about ways to ride your bike.
Especially as the weather gets warmer, this event is really like a kickoff to the warm riding season. And we've got lots of trails all around town that make it safe for a recreational ride or a commute. We have a great resource called our Low Stress Bike Map, which can help you plan where you're going to ride to avoid some of the busy roads. And there's a great community around cycling here in town, and this event is a great example of that.
And Red Bike also announced that it has a 3-year, what they call Strength and Sustain funding plan at this event. We'll be telling you more about that in the weeks to come. All right, on now to Barb the baker. Go for it. She's heating up a few things. What are you making?
I'm going to make brownies.
And I know that we had the privilege of actually coming out and meeting Barb, and you are?
I'm Bob.
And Barb and Bob bake for a very good cause. We stopped out to you on Mother's Day, and we wanted to talk about why you bake. So let's go to your story there. This is a mom that's a really sweet inspiration. Let's watch this. Talk about a recipe for success.
I think I need a little more in here.
These lemon barbs Barb Thornton is making for her growing family.
If somebody feels bad, I want to feed them and bake for them, so.
Are yours for the asking. But in this case, Barb told me,
I think everybody wrote me off in the beginning, to be quite honest.
there's a bit of sweet irony.
I am a pancreatic cancer survivor. I am still in treatment. I am currently receiving immunotherapy.
That immunotherapy, which helps your own body fight back, helped change Barb's life.
Within 3 months, my scans were clear. My blood work is normal.
So now this 4-year survivor not only bakes these pecan-bottom chocolate toffee pies with mocha whipped cream for her own family, she'll bake and deliver them to other Ohio families too. Her only request?
Research is key because I truly believe research saved her life.
A donation to PanCan, the national organization that funds pancreatic cancer research.
I mean, a few years ago, we might not have her, but because of research and the testing and all, she's here, she's fighting still.
The research in this cancer, very promising, Dr. Devendra Sohal of Ohio's UC Blood Cancer Healing Center told me, especially in what's called KRAS trials.
KRAS, K-R-A-S, is a gene that is an on switch in many of these cancers. Basically, it turns the cancer cells on. And these drugs try to turn that switch off so that the cancer cells stop growing. They essentially go to sleep.
Barb and her family, not sure if she'll need these next steps, but they say what's really sweet, not only is she here to celebrate Mother's Day, but for the first time, so is little Tommy, her first and only grandbaby. So how old's Tommy?
3 months.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, I can only imagine that your spirit is so strong when you say all these reasons to continue to fight. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So when we went over to do that, we had a couple things for Barb. One was that she made these amazing lemon bars, but she hadn't finished baking them. So today she brought them in for the studio people. And you're making what now?
I'm going to make brownies.
Okay.
These are two of my most requested.
Okay, so is your house always smell good?
Oh yeah, always.
You would never want to be like on a diet or something. This would be hard.
The tough part is you walk in the house and you smell it. It's so good. And then you realize, I can't have any of it because it's going out the door.
Okay, so this is actually true. So this morning at like 4 a.m. while I was on my stepper, I put a donation in for Barb so she could bake something for us. And that's the way it works. You go online, you put a donation in, and she will bake it and actually bring it to your graduation, your party. You have a wedding coming up. Are you baking anything for that?
And the wedding's not until next October.
Oh, okay. But I didn't know if you did specialty things as well.
Actually, my daughter has become an excellent baker. She made the wedding cake for her younger brother's wedding.
So to make the brownies, and you know, you've probably tried these, they're amazing, right? What's the secret? Because I see you, I've never melted my butter this way with the chocolate.
Right. Well, and this is really just a from scratch recipe It is the baker's one bowl chocolate. So normally I put this chocolate and the butter in a glass bowl and put it in the microwave. And this is starting to melt pretty quick, but the chocolate's going well, but the butter's not.
The butter's not. Okay.
And it's the only brownie he will.
Now you've been spoiled, right?
I have
yeah,
been.
Yeah. So while she's continuing to cook this up, let me ask you, when you have an illness like this in your family, your whole world comes crashing down, doesn't it?
Oh, it came to a stop.
Yeah.
Just a stop.
Yeah. So how have you sort of built back from that? What, this impacts the whole family.
I leaned on some friends. I also went and for a while I was talking with a professional. I don't think she was a psychologist, but she had expertise in the cancer field, and I talked to her off and on for several months, and that really helped. And you just got to get to the mindset is, all right, today's a new day. Let's enjoy it. And it's in your back of your mind what can go wrong, but you can't let that overcome you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy, well said. All of us should live like we don't know if we have tomorrow.
Exactly.
That's actually the truth.
That's really true.
But Barb, you really are an inspiration because you have fought and battled. So the other ingredients I kind of got to know for this wonderful recipe. We are going to put this on Facebook, by the way. But you put the chocolate in. She's like, no, I got to melt all the butter. But we're in TV time, so tell me the other ingredients here.
So then I add 2 cups of sugar.
Okay, can we do that?
And yeah.
She's like, you're going to mess up my butter. I know, but we're going to run out of TV time here. Okay, so you put in the sugar and you stir, and then what comes after the sugar?
And then the eggs.
Okay. Bob, you're going to have to start cracking some eggs there for us. I'm not very good at this, but Barb, I noticed, can do that one-handed.
Oh, yeah.
Now, has this been successful? Have you been raising money for research and people are reaching out?
I have.
Yeah.
In the past couple years, I had a bake sale in front of my house, and I had, friends and family help me. Let me go ahead and turn that off. Bake, and I've had so much support the whole way along. So it's really been incredible.
Okay, so while you're finishing that up, I need you to try the lemon bars.
Okay.
And hand a piece to me so that I can say that these are actually some of the best. You can use your hands and just hand me one. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So Barb, your
There you
two
go.
requested are the lemon and the brownies. You
The
said,
lemon
right?
bars and brownies.
Brownies.
I have 2 German chocolate cakes to make this week.
All right. I hope
Yeah.
that came out of us putting the word out. Oh my goodness, these are
Aren't they?
amazing. Wow. Oh my goodness, Barb. I had no idea. They kind of just melt in your mouth. All right, if you would like to reach out to Barb, we're going to put the word out here. 513-739-1983 is her number. She will let you leave your order. I went on this morning, you put in your donation, it's really easy. It says, what are you to the person? Are you a friend or whatever? So I want you to know I put friend and supporter
Yes.
for P
Thank
and
you.
Can. So
Yes.
you can do that. But either way, any amount you can give. She really makes something that you have not had. And if you eat it for a good cause, I'm a dietitian, I know the calories don't count. God
No.
bless you guys.
Thank you.
We're
Thank
so
you.
grateful to have you in house today. We're going to keep putting the word out. We're going to try those brownies. All right, just ahead. Local Man says it's never too late to ask for help. We share what helped him heal in minding your health. And we can't wait to get a little help battling burnout. Tammy's going to join us talking about energy work to help us heal. Give me a quick wave there. So glad to have you here. Stay with us on what's happening in health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Northern Kentucky Area Development District and Glenwood Behavioral Health.
In minding your mental health, a local man says that he struggled with mental health concerns for years until an inpatient stay helped him get back on his feet and feel well again. Matthew Haggerty said that he had anxiety, depression, PTSD from childhood trauma. It got so bad he even considered taking his own life. But after his second stay here at Glenwood Behavioral Health, he said he got the medication and counseling he needed and then transitioned to outpatient care.
I was homeless for about 2.5 years before I came into here, and it's really allowed me to kind of open up a connection, breathe back with my family again, and talk to them.
If you would like more information on what helped Matt, you can call the team at Glenwood. They have a 24/7 number. It's 877-707-2612. All right, on now to a wonderful woman that we met. We were talking about a story for Nurses Week called Beating Burnout. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, Tammy Waldron, founder of Tawanda Wellbeing.
And so what is Tawanda Wellbeing?
Yes, it is a business that focuses on teaching energy healing. Energy healing taps into your body. Our bodies are made of energy. Our whole being is energy, and all of the experiences that happen to us in our lifetimes, if our body doesn't know how to process it, it holds on to it. Energy healing allows us to get in to those moments in time, belief systems, feelings that aren't unprocessed, and release them.
All right, she makes it sound so simple, but during National Nurses Month, the providers that she talked to at least were reminded that healthcare workers need to take a little time to take care of themselves. That's critical whether you are, as these students in this simulation lab, just starting out in the field.
Coming back to school and becoming a nurse, it's incredible. It changes your perspective on how to treat people and how to care for others.
Or you've been in the nursing field for many years.
I really like taking care of people, and I really love taking care of the students.
Tammy Waldron of Aviatra Accelerators, a nonprofit that helps women in business, says several surveys now show healthcare workers, especially nurses, are in a field where you have a lot of demand on your time and emotions each day.
So nurses have so much pressure and stress in their work, and they don't have an opportunity to process that.
And that, she says, puts you at a high risk for burnout.
Our bodies are brilliant, and if it doesn't know what to do, it just holds on to it for us, and it layers and layers and layers.
Tammy teaches workshops here.
Hear it.
On how to release that daily stress and reduce burnout risk through energy work.
We can tap into that, and we can lean in and process and release it. It's a much deeper body approach using energy healing techniques.
Warning signs of burnout include a lack of energy, exhaustion, feeling negative, or poor performance. To recover, she says, you have to choose to focus on your own health and learn small ways to manage stress throughout the day.
Things that are quick and easy that you can do on the go in between patients. You don't have to go to another location or take time off to do this. Honestly, most jobs don't afford that type of time. And we need to be able to process those moments in the moment so our body doesn't store them.
You make it sound so easy, but did you really have to learn to do that?
Yeah, it's absolutely a journey and a process, and I am my own patient. And my first client is me searching for my own healing work. I've read all the books. I love self-help. I love positive psychology, but none of it actually touched the deep trauma that I had from adoption. I was adopted at 5 days old, and I've just my whole life had this primal wound that I couldn't quite get my finger on, but I knew there was more. I knew there was something deeper. So I had this whisper, this calling to keep looking. And I found it. I found it in energy healing. It touched it and healed it. It changed my life, and it's something that I learned. Everybody can learn how to do this. And so that's why I started my business.
So tell me a little bit, we have a little video, we saw you in kind of a classroom setting, but how do you usually do your work? How does someone connect? How do they learn energy healing?
Yep, so I have workshops. I predominantly work with people through Zoom, in person, like live, and the classes are a couple of days. However, what I offer that's unique in my business is the RISE program that allows us to meet and stretch this out over a year. It takes a while to embody this. It's more than just learning. You need an opportunity and a place to practice it, being guided. So we offer that at Tawanda Wellbeing Rise. And you learn it, you practice it, and then you start to embody it and live it into your day-to-day life.
So the skills that you teach are things that you incorporate, and that's, I know, what you did with the nurses, and healthcare workers are just one audience for you. I mean, I think we all can, suffer from burnout and that kind of thing. So just to share, I think, in your conclusion, can you tell me, you said that there was a nurse that sort of kind of made you go out on your own, and that is so interesting. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I was in an all-day resiliency training, which is great information, right? It's about our mindset, which is so popular in these days. Our mindsets are so powerful, but really what's happening is you are reshifting what you're thinking to make it positive, constantly reshifting. But there's something underneath that's driving that initial thought. And so at the end of this all-day event, a nurse raised her hand and said, all this information is really great, but I have these feelings inside of me and I don't know what to do with them. What can I do? And he really didn't have an answer for her beyond what he had taught. And I knew I had what had helped me would help her. And so that really drove me to start my business.
That is so interesting, because if you think about a teacher will say the same thing, like, you got all this stuff bombarding you all day. Journalists, we say the same thing. We have these stories. Healthcare providers see all kinds of people in crisis. So what a wonderful gift you have.
Thank you.
So tell me, we have your web link and things like that, but if I reach out to you, we have one of your classes is Inner Shifts for Nursing, but you have lots of them, and just tell me a little bit about how you work and how we would set up something.
Yeah, my events are on my website, and I also actually have YouTube videos, so you can go there now and learn some quick strategies that you can do on your own that walk you through the foundations of the beginnings of my work, the 3-point technique and collarbone breathing. And everyone who does that immediately feels centered, grounded, released, open. And these are things you can do in the moment. You don't have to go somewhere. You can just take a minute, 30 seconds, and tap into yourself and release a little bit of that stress.
Well, good for you. We got a phone number there for Towanda Wellbeing, 419-705-6714. We'll also put a link for you at what'shappeninginhealth.com. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, and we're going to follow up and try to learn a little bit more about this, because, like you said, it's kind of a process. Yeah. Yes. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for what you do. All right, just ahead, some changes expected for the recommendations to the COVID-19 vaccine. We'll explain in Legal Medicine.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Northern Kentucky Area Development District.
In legal medicine, the Department of Health and Human Services under Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. expected to change the COVID-19 vaccine recommendations. The Wall Street Journal reporting the exact timing isn't clear, but there are plans to drop the recommendations for pregnant women, teenagers, and children when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccines as a matter of routine. The CDC currently does recommend that everyone 6 months and older, including those who are pregnant, should receive this vaccine. It was not clear if the department is planning to remove the recommendation for COVID-19 shots entirely for those groups, or just suggest that patients talk with doctors about the risks and the benefits. In High Tech Health today, we want to leave you with what we may soon have as an ability to treat infants' genetic disorders in the womb. A study by UC San Francisco says that there is growing evidence that doctors can treat prenatal genetic disorders by injecting a medicine into the amniotic fluid. The treatments have only been tested on animals so far, but there is promising hope in people. All right, in our next half hour, they are one of the healthiest foods you can eat, but one farm worried about a deep freeze, and maybe they wouldn't have these crops. We have an update with McGlasson Farms coming up on What's Happening in Health.
The headline medical stories that affect you and your family. This is What's Happening in Health, sponsored by Mayfield Braden Spine.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to our second half hour here on What's Happening in Health. We are so grateful you're staying with us this Sunday morning. Got a great hour planned for you still to come, beginning with a new study which shows that your hearing and your heart may be connected. You may be surprised what is behind all this, but joining us to explain the potential link between your overall health and your hearing, Dr. Matthew Kist of the One Hearing Care and Associates Center, and Dr. Stephanie Grace of Phonak. So glad to have you both back here on What's Happening in Health. And changing outcomes when it comes to lung cancer. The St. Elizabeth Young Family Cancer Center now has a new milestone in early detection. Joining us with how it is saving lives, Dr. Michael Gieske of the Lung Cancer Screening Program. He has some pretty amazing, life-changing numbers to share with us, and we are so grateful to have you here. But first, quick headline for you. on back pain. Recent report in Very Well Health says there are a number of things that can lead to back pain. A physical therapist may be able to help you ease that pain. This is the team from Mayfield Brain and Spine. But the report found sciatica and muscle strains are the top problems in both men and women that cause back pain. But it is also suggested you don't assume that it's always a muscle thing, and here's why. Researchers found in men you can experience back pain with both prostate and testicular problems, and in women you can have lower back pain linked to endometriosis, uterine fibroids, and period pain. On now to our top story this half hour. It is in your healthy future. Former President Joe Biden expected to undergo treatment for an aggressive form of prostate cancer. And while it has already spread to his bone, doctors say his prognosis still promising. That means as President Biden makes a decision about the proper path for treatment, Dr. Mark Delworth of Ohio's Urology Group says it's important to know this.
His prognosis, while it is advanced, is not necessarily grim.
Well, not an immediate candidate for prostate removal for the cancer.
He may need a procedure to help relieve some of the obstructive urinary voiding symptoms.
He would likely be started on therapy to address what his medical team has said is a hormone-sensitive type of prostate cancer. Dr. Doug Flora, the executive director of the Young Family Cancer Center at St. Elizabeth Healthcare and a cancer survivor, told me most are shots given by injection into a muscle.
It's a fairly standard course of therapy, usually for the first couple of years for most patients, to be on what's called androgen deprivation, and that will be with one of those shots.
So one of the questions that has come up is why wasn't this caught earlier? Would this type of cancer suddenly jump into the bone and not have been detected on a PSA test?
Yeah, his specific type of prostate cancer does tend to act that way, Liz. He has a Gleason 9 prostate cancer, and that's a higher grade tumor that can develop very, very quickly.
The good news, newer research has led to therapies that may help even if former President Biden's cancer advances.
They're called radiopharmaceuticals, and we're using them in late stage advanced cancers that have progressed through a couple lines of therapy.
Until we have a cure, however, blood tests for a PSA or prostate-specific antigen can help detect this kind of cancer early.
First of all, guys, go see a doctor. That's the number one thing. Is that, and I'm guilty of that. I mean, it's kind of in our DNA. Each man at the age of 50 needs to start that conversation with their primary care about getting annual exams and getting annual PSAs.
And your own healthcare provider, of course, the best person to guide you with the screenings that are right for you. A couple other headlines for you today. One is in Healthy Innovations. Take your family and head out these warmer months to Newport on the Levee. New student-led mural project has been unveiled there. This is video from Miami University. A first-of-its-kind art class shows what is possible when creativity meets community. Now, this partnership between Newport and Miami's Department of Art began last fall when the city approached the university to help beautify the city. Then one of their assistant teaching professors built an entire class around this project with students who led the creation and the installation of this entire mural. It was created on a material called parachute cloth, and that means that students could draw and paint well on campus and then transport finished panels to Newport, and it was installed just like you would high-tech wallpaper. And finally, topping this half hour, healthy diversity, as we call it. 1 in 10 cases of asthma now among children could be prevented by simultaneously reducing pollution and improving the environment in cities. Study by the Karolinska Institute found air pollution and the lack of green spaces in urban environments are major factors in kids developing asthma. If those factors were addressed, 11% of childhood asthma cases could be prevented. All right, up next, good foods for your gut. We're going to share how to nurture from the inside out. And Dr. Kist and Dr. Grace joining us to talk hearing and the heart. So you're going to want to listen to this on what's happening in health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Life Enriching Communities, NKADD, Hawksworth, and Aptiva Health.
Welcome back, everybody. If you want to improve your gut, summer, a perfect season to do that. We now know that good gut bacteria has been linked to reducing the risk for several long-term illnesses. To get that bacteria, it is suggested you start with plant foods like these, mainly fruits and vegetables. You really need to eat 5 to 9 servings a day to get the fiber and the nutrients needed for better gut health.
When people ask me as a dietitian, like, what's the magic pill I can do to live a healthier life? Eat more fruits and vegetables, because fruits and vegetables are so nutriently dense. They have all the vitamins and minerals your body needs, but also dietary fiber. And dietary fiber, it's that good carbohydrate that helps clean your system out. So it helps you be nice and irregular, keeps your blood cholesterol nice and low, and really just helps you to feel good.
All right, on now to a wonderful segment we have here called Listen to This. Remind us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dr. Matthew Kist. I'm an audiologist and the owner of Northern Kentucky Audiology Lung Hearing Care Associates.
And you see people there for?
We largely do hearing testing, diagnostic hearing testing, and hearing rehabilitation with hearing aids, assisted devices, things like that.
You mentioned to me that the audience is getting younger.
It is.
You think that's lifestyle, or you think that's a combination?
I think it's a combination of more awareness in the general public and how everything's connected in the body. Hearing loss can show progression with cognitive decline, even things such as heart failure, but noise exposure too. People are becoming more and more aware of they need to protect their ears, so later down in life they'll be okay. They're not increasing risks of cognitive decline or hearing loss.
Yeah, we never used to do that. And one of the wonderful people who I know you work with their products, remind us a little bit about your role.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dr. Stephanie Grace. I'm an audiologist and I work for Phonak, which is a hearing aid manufacturer.
We have some cool technology,
We do.
and I know you've recently been working a lot with AI. How's that going?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We launched our new product called the Sphere, which is on the table there in the middle, and it launched back in August of 2024, and we have seen tremendous success with it. It's utilizing artificial intelligence in a very different way from anything else that's currently out there on the market. Essentially denoising the situation, so when people get into a challenging listening environment, it's actually separating speech and noise, reducing listening effort, making it easier for people to hear in those challenging environments.
Yeah, I've recently referred a number of people who said, like, my mom just can't separate that, and separating that speech from noise is such a big deal. Yeah,
it's very impactful.
No, it's nice to see that, really sort of making a difference in the quality of people's lives. So one of the reasons we wanted to have you here today is we recently went out to see you at Lund to talk to you a little bit about one of the first of its kind trials. And I want to give you a little background where researchers actually discovered that poor hearing is associated with an increased risk for heart failure. So watch this. It may mean that if you struggle with hearing at any age.
Sometimes in large crowds when there's like a lot of people, I have a hard time hearing like the whispers or like the low tones of people's voices.
It's a good idea to be evaluated by an audiologist. Jennifer Kist is lucky. Her brother, Dr. Matthew Kist, just happens to be one here at Kentucky's Lund Hearing Care and Associates. We asked him to review this trial. It looked at 164,000 people who did not have heart failure at the start of the study. They found about 3% developed hearing loss in the next 12 years. Those who did were more likely to be diagnosed with heart failure than those who had normal hearing. Researchers concluded that if you don't hear well, it may be an early marker for heart failure risk.
So the idea behind it is that the cochlea, which is the hearing organ, has such a massive vascular supply that if blood flow is restricted or reduced due to possible heart disease, that could present itself as hearing loss, and it could be an early predictor of onset heart disease.
It's important to note that wearing hearing aids did not lower risk in this study, mainly because these treat the symptoms of the illness, not the disease itself.
It will certainly help with the hearing loss aspect, but it is not used to treat anything vascular.
So a few things, he says, worth listening to. If you need hearing help, you may also need heart help. Tell a cardiologist you've been diagnosed with hearing loss. Several steps can be taken early to lower future heart failure risk. And then do what Jennifer does.
If I listen to music and I have like AirPods in, I usually do it for like an hour and then my ears actually kind of start hurting. So then I take them off and give them a rest.
Imagine that, actually like taking them out. I know that, good or bad, the earplugs in your ears, or the earbuds, I guess I should say, have probably led to a lot of complications with hearing, have they not?
Definitely. And what we're seeing lately, a lot of technology, when we have it paired to our phones, we have warnings that pop up that say, hey, this is pretty loud. You may want to limit exposure time or turn it down. And people are becoming more aware, oh, this could be harmful. This could have a permanent impact on my hearing. I should maybe err on the safer side. So that's nice to see.
That is nice to see. I think mine will do that. It'll say your hearing level is safe or something like that. Yeah. So I thought what was so interesting, and I'm sure because your company does research for new products, that whole connection between your total health and your hearing. Are we just learning more and more about that?
I think there's more awareness, yeah. I mean, and May being Better Hearing Month, we're definitely always, looking at links with diabetes, cognition, as we mentioned earlier, increased risk of falls. There's a lot of different comorbidities that can line up with hearing loss.
And some of those we know are lifestyle related, meaning, when we look at, like falls, you wouldn't hear something and it might, come out of nowhere to you. But then it was so interesting that the hearing loss was probably more biological.
It could be. When a patient comes in and asks about why I have this hearing loss, it's usually a combination. Genetics, noise exposure, just the aging process in general, things start to break down as we get older. But then we see new studies like this come out that say, well, hearing loss could be an early predictor of heart failure. The blood supply, the hardening of the arterial walls, it's affecting the entire body. So having the bigger picture is going to be very helpful moving forward to not only addressing hearing loss, but understanding our overall health.
Which is great, because I think any indicator that might get you to realize there's other things going on looks at the total picture.
Definitely.
Yeah, which is really important. Okay, couple things. You mentioned this is the sphere,
Yes.
and things are kind of continually improving, and so we've had a couple conversations that you can buy those things that just magnify everything over the counter, or these. What's the best way to find out? I know this might be more costly, but if you don't get something that helps, it's not a good idea. What's the best way to go get something that is right for you?
Go visit your local hearing care professional. Dr. Kist and his group do a fantastic job. So if you are in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, it's a great place to go. Get a thorough evaluation from a licensed hearing care professional and evaluate the situation together.
So when they do that, I know, like when I took my mom in, they kind of said, okay, you can test these. And then of course, once you've tried a better quality product, you're like, oh my goodness, what a difference. But a lot of people never know that if they don't come to you.
Correct. And typically what we see in my clinic, at least, is people may go the route of an over-the-counter hearing aid first because they don't know any better. But then they kind of understand, oh, I am hearing better, but certain things aren't great. I wonder what it could be. And that's when they pay us a visit and we say, this was a good start. But more often than not, those people do upgrade to actual prescription audiology fit hearing aids because they understand the differences, the nuances, being able to de-noise, being able to hear better in groups, restaurants. We get people out of their isolation, which is what this hearing loss is causing, back into a group setting, back in with their family and friends. And it makes all the difference in the world to have a properly programmed set of hearing aids.
Yeah, so true. All right, we want to make sure you know where to find Stephanie's product from Phonak, as well as Dr. Kist, if that sounds like something or someone that you know might benefit from that. 859-342-5846 is your number at Lund. We just appreciate you guys keeping the word out and bringing us education as we need it.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for being here today.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Sure thing.
All right, just ahead, a new study looking at the impact of Alzheimer's disease. The results might really surprise you. And the St. Elizabeth Young Family Cancer Center has a new milestone in early detection of lung cancer. Look who's in the house. Dr. Michael Gieske here from the Lung Cancer Program. We're going to hear what we all need to know to help save our own lives. Stay with us.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Miami University, the Vein Center of Cincinnati, and Lindner Center of Hope.
In Healthy Caregiving today, there is growing evidence that Alzheimer's disease affects the whole body, not just the brain. Study in fruit flies, believe it or not, by Baylor College of Medicine showed the disease can impact someone's sense of smell and even their metabolism and digestion. The findings could help, researchers say, lead to new treatments. In your So Vain today, vaping devices are more addictive than nicotine gum. That's the finding of a new study by Nicotine and Tobacco Research. They asked young people to abstain from nicotine for a night and then use either an e-cigarette or nicotine gum. The e-cigarette users felt more satisfaction for their nicotine craving, but that also means that could lead to addiction. Well, we knew who to talk to about that lung addiction stuff. Want to welcome back our team from St. Elizabeth Healthcare. Remind us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dr. Michael Gieske. I'm a family medicine physician by training, and I'm the director of our lung cancer screening program at St. Elizabeth Healthcare in Northern Kentucky and Southeast Indiana.
So it's interesting to me, where did that passion for the lung prevention come from for you? Because you were a family doctor. Were you just seeing a lot of people and it could have been prevented?
Yeah, unfortunately, in family medicine, we see a lot of lung cancer, and especially in Northern Kentucky in the middle of the tobacco belt, we're essentially ground zero in the fight against lung cancer. And when I was in administrative work about 9 years ago, I got asked to be on the thoracic oncology disease management team as a primary care representative. And I walked in there, I had really very little idea what they were talking about, but I found out that for the first time in my career that we had something that can make a tremendous difference for our patients at risk for lung cancer, and that's low-dose CT lung cancer screening.
And so you sort of got behind that, and I know for people not familiar with that, we should probably tell them. We have a little video. Tell me what that is, how it works, that kind of thing.
Sure, it's a very simple test. You have to meet the criteria first. You have to be between 50 and 80 years of age. You have to have 20 pack years of smoking history, which means you smoked a pack a day for 20 years or half a pack a day for 40 years. And you have to have smoked within the last 15 years. If you meet those criteria, then insurance completely covers the test. It's very simple. You go into the department. You can leave the same clothes on that you had when you walked into the department. You have no dye, no needles. Nothing gets put up you, in you, down you, through you. Nothing gets squeezed. You're in and out of the machine in 3 minutes. It's one breath hold. And it's really the simplest test we have for a very serious cancer.
And so then we are seeing some images there. What then does that give you to tell me what's going on in my body?
Well, when we do a low-dose CT, you can pick up lung cancers that are literally, 6 to 8 millimeters or less in size. And the key to lung cancer is catching it early. We're really changing the narrative by going after it, catching it early, and if you catch it in stage 1, it's typically cured by surgery or radiation treatment.
So I think part of what's been hard is that we didn't used to have as many survivors, so you didn't really get that message. And now you're seeing what? I'm told you have some pretty remarkable numbers that you've seen.
Yeah, we have a growing army of lung cancer survivors. Their voices are getting larger and louder, and we didn't used to have survivors of lung cancer. 15 to 20 years ago, patients typically would die from lung cancer within 6 to 12 months. We now have patients with even late stage, stage 3 and stage 4 lung cancer that are alive 15 to 20 years later. And so again, if you catch it early, that's best. There's a greater than 90% chance of curing lung cancer if you catch it in stage 1. But even when you catch it in later stages, it's a much greater chance of curing the cancer.
So your team said that you've kind of hit a milestone where you've been able to find more of those stage 1s. Tell me about that.
Yeah, to put it in context, we started a program in 2013. We did 7 screens that year. We did 10,000 screens last year. We just did 900 screens in the month of April of this year. We've now done over 50,000 lung cancer screens since we started our program. And it's not just the number of screens that we do. It takes a very dedicated, very passionate, energetic team to accomplish that. But the biggest part of the impact is the results you see, the success of the program. We've now found over 500 stage 1 lung cancers. These are individuals that are going to get to see their children get married, to see their grandchildren born, to see many more Thanksgivings and holiday celebrations. And that didn't used to happen 15 to 20 years ago. We're really changing the narrative and making a difference.
So I think what that also tells us is that they probably had no symptoms, and had they not had that scan done, they would have never known.
Oh, absolutely. You don't have symptoms from lung cancer until it's typically in stage 4. If you start coughing up blood, or you have bone pain from metastases, or shortness of breath, or a cough that won't go away, you're typically in late stage 3 or stage 4 lung cancer. And it's harder to cure that cancer, but again, it can be cured, but it's so much easier to cure it in stage 1.
Yeah,
you catch
absolutely.
it early.
Yeah. So we, real quick, just put up that criteria if you could. You said if you meet the criteria, you will have this covered by your insurance, the 20 more pack years or not. And then we also have a phone number for you because you have a program that kind of connects you with a nurse navigator, and then she'll help you kind of figure out if it's the right thing,
Absolutely.
right?
Our navigators are wonderful at dealing with patients. They communicate with the ordering provider, the referring provider, and really keep that communication open. They guide the patient through a very scary process in their lives, and they really make a difference.
Well, thanks for changing our community, because that's literally what you're doing, just keeping people in our community that otherwise would not have those options. 859-301-4072 is the St. Elizabeth Healthcare lung cancer screening program line that connects you with that nurse navigator. Dr. Giese, thank you for your tireless work, because I know your passion's behind it, and we love to really have that. So
thanks so much,
for what you do, and we're going to continue to share it. So.
All right.
All right, just ahead, they may be the biggest fans of the Indy 500. If you're headed there today, yeah, believe it or not, Memorial Day weekend, hard to believe it. We're going to tell you why it may be good for your health. We'll explain just ahead. And speaking of good for your health, look who's back in house. We welcome Luke from McGlasson Farms. We'll tell you how he saved the strawberries. Stay with us.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Network for Hope, William E. Hesh Law, and Serene Sweets.
In your healthy rights, you have the right to take your paid time off. Employee health specialists say there is a rising trend in people doing what's called holiday hoarding. It's where you store up your vacation and your holiday benefits, maybe because your job's crazy or you're insecure about keeping it. So we thought we'd visit the home of Steve and Claude Ross. They are Indy fans, and they kick off the unofficial start of vacation season every year by going to the Indy 500.
It's just a great event. It's a spectacular event in terms of just the show, the whole show, but it goes back for us from when we were kids, and the game, and it was never on television, so you'd listen on the radio, and it would be my dad, my brother, and me sitting around the radio listening to the race.
Gotta love that. Taking your time off for your family, beneficial to your health. Tri-Health Employee Assistance Specialists say it reduces stress, improves sleep, and potentially even lowers the risk for heart disease. In Hope You Know, which is what we hope you know about your mental health each week, there is something you should know this Mental Health Awareness Month. The Linder Center of Hope has a program for professionals who struggle with mental health. Professionals. And it is for everyone, including even those who are physicians, healthcare providers, teachers. They cater the program to each person's needs.
So we want to first think about the person, the whole person, a person living with an illness of some sort or vulnerability in some way. And then how do we help them manage that and cope with the symptoms of that illness in the most effective way possible.
So that is Linder's CEO on a previous show for us. Linder Center of Hope has a 24/7 hotline. If you need it for any reason, you can call 513-536-4673. All right, just ahead, cancer symptoms. Your women's health provider may be the person to help you detect those early. We'll tell you what you need to know. And the power to pursue. May the movement continue. We are so glad to have back in house Krista and Rachel. They are joining us next half hour. We're going to explain why coming up.
The headline medical stories that affect you and your family. This is What's Happening in Health, sponsored by Tri-Health.
Welcome back, everybody, to our second half hour here on What's Happening in Health. Got a great rest of the show for you today. It was a near miss for a local farm. They are passionate about produce, almost lost the strawberry season, but never fear. Look who's here, Luke McGlasson. So glad to have you here from McGlasson Farms, and we are heading into strawberry season. Look at this. Can't wait to tell you not just how good those are for you, but how he saved the strawberry season. And talk about passion. There is a movement in women, empowerment and wellness. It is changing our community. So here to keep the momentum going, we welcome Krista and Rachel. You might remember we talked to them a few months ago. We're going to have an update on just something amazing with the power to pursue. They'll tell us how we can all join in. But first, quick headline for you. Your women's health provider may be the first person to help you identify early warning signs for gynecological and other women's cancers.
You are the expert on your body. So if there's something different or concerning to you, bring it up and notice those signs and don't ignore them.
Here's a look at a few symptoms that can be connected to cancer: pelvic pain, bloating, fever and night sweats, as well as bowel changes. Weight changes can also make a difference and be connected to cancer. Pain after intimacy, breast lumps, and even fatigue has been linked to blood cancers. If you'd like to find out more information about the TriHealth Women's Services team, 513-246-2496. And finally, topping this half hour, our donor of the week. We love to highlight those. A local man has proven that small acts done consistently can have a major impact. His name is Richard Hunt, and he's a longtime community member. He's donated blood over 200 times. For years, he's made it part of his routine to stop by donation centers and save lives as often as possible. Richard reminds us that one person really can have a lasting impact.
You realize how important it is. You realize people need this, absolutely. And without donating, how would you fix the problem?
You can't. You need that blood. You can receive this FC quarter zip if you can donate this month. And there's a number to call, 513-451-0910, if you can make an appointment. They especially need this going into the summer season. All right, just ahead, what to eat to age gracefully. We'll share some of the top choices for staying well for a long time. And Luke's in the house, speaking of eating well. Berries make the list of those foods, by the way. He's going to tell us a little bit about McGlasson Farms. Strawberry season up next on What's Happening in Health.
This portion is sponsored by Good Samaritan College of Nursing and Health Science and the Mental Health Recovery Board of Warren and Clinton Counties.
In Aging Gracefully today, older women can benefit from eating more high-quality carbohydrates and fiber. A study by Tufts University shows that for women 70 and older, healthy aging can be boosted by eating more whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes, or beans. However, carbs from added sugars and refined foods actually led to lower odds of healthy aging. In our Ask a Nurse segment today, we ask, what is the Tyler Strong Initiative? Well, they raise money for cancer nurses, and this past week, the UC Health Oncology Nurses Program, for their hard work and dedication, got a big shout out. Tyler Morrow was the inspiration for this initiative. Many of these nurses you see here cared for him as he battled lymphoma. May is National Nurses Month, and Tyler's wife not only presented this $13,000 check, but she said it's her way to show gratitude to nurses and go the extra mile.
He was cared for by 77 nurses during his time, and he knew every single one of them by heart. And so we created the Tyler Strong Foundation to create opportunities to retain those fabulous and exciting nurses.
So to date, this family has actually made an amazing difference. They've raised $35,000 as part of the Tyler Strong Initiative. All right, on now to our wonderful friends from McGlasson Farms. Hi, Luke.
Hi.
Hey, good to have you back. What's
Yeah.
McGlasson Farms?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to have you. Tell us about your farm. What is it?
It's a fruit and vegetable farm in Hebron, Kentucky. We're located on River Road, Route 8, near the airport.
Kind of tucked away.
Yeah, a little bit. We do a lot of pick your own. We have a pick your own event nearly every month. Right now it's strawberry season. Up after that will be blueberries, blackberries, peaches, and then apples. So.
You know, it's kind of the most wonderful time of the year.
It is. Strawberry season is my favorite.
Yeah. Those of us that are dietitians that appreciate this. But just recently we went out to see you. It was because we had kind of a cool, cold spring.
Yeah. Nearly every year we have to cover the berries with these gigantic frost blankets to protect them from the cold weather.
My heart just broke for you because you were like, we never know, like if it's going to be this, and then we don't get the bees, and that happens. You know, there's like this cascade of things that can go wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of
influence this. So let's go back, because at McGlasson Farms they use these huge tarps in an effort to keep this produce you see here alive in the cold. Luke McGlasson got them out of one of the barns here early this morning.
Today we are covering our strawberry fields with these gigantic tarps, blankets, whatever you want to call them. We'll cover acres and acres of strawberry fields.
Well, there's plenty of water from the flooding on these fields. He's got a whole team of people here to try and help him save the strawberries from expected freezing temperatures overnight, too.
So we have to put sandbags out for weights around the fields, and then we spread these blankets over the field, and it hopefully keeps the fields a couple degrees warmer than everything else.
As you showed me, the buds of these plants have already started popping up. So on a good year where it's not freezing, how many strawberries will you get from that?
You could get, each plant would probably make a quart or two,
Ooh. Those quarts of strawberries, usually the first you pick berries of the season. Soon after, they'll have blueberries and raspberries that we saw getting picked here last summer.
Strawberries usually start blooming in late April, early May, and then by mid-May to late May is when they're fruiting, when they're ripe.
Paige Bowdler has worked here nearly 5 years. She says a few degrees can make a lot of difference in saving strawberries.
It's a lot of work, but it's well worth it.
What's in a strawberry? Well worth saving too. The vitamin C, antioxidants, even the phytonutrients in the rich red color, all have the potential to be preserved under these careful coverings. So we didn't have a chance to get back out, and I guess you never know till now.
Yeah.
So what was the result?
They all survived. We have one of the biggest crops we've had in a long time. So yeah.
God loves you.
Yeah.
So tell us what you brought and a little bit about these.
Yeah, I brought these I picked yesterday from our field. There's tons more out there. I wanted to talk a little bit about proper ripening of strawberries. I brought some examples here. You may see so strawberries will not ripen once they're picked off the vine. And why is that important? One, they're not going to taste very good. If you see this little bit of white, the white tip right there, they're not going to ripen up anymore. But more importantly, they're not going to have the proper nutrients. I found a study from the University of Kentucky that said the nutrient level in unripe berries, typically the kind you might find that have been shipped in from other places, they don't have the same nutrient levels and the same vitamins that fully ripe strawberries. And really the only way to get that is to, buy local or pick them yourself, grow them yourself.
I believe that because, there's so much evidence that that's in the color and the flavor and the texture.
It is that the dark red color, the darker pigments really have a lot of the vitamins, yeah.
What makes a strawberry sweeter? Because sometimes you'll get them in the grocery store and they're not very sweet. They look pretty, but...
The being fully ripe is one thing, and then the varieties. We grow traditional varieties that ripen fully that are meant for eating. A lot of the commercial varieties are meant for shipping.
These are meant for eating?
Yeah. A lot of the varieties grown on the really large commercial farms, they're meant to be shipped, not to be eaten, to be honest. They're just not, yeah.
So what do they do, pull them off before they're super ripe?
They pick them before they're ripe, but that's also the genetics of those varieties. They're meant to be very hard and hardy, but not necessarily nutritious or tasting good.
Yeah. All right. Well, we want to make sure people can come out and pick these. So remind us every day. How does it work at your farm?
Yeah, it's pick your own. We're open every day, 9 to 6 on weekdays, 9 to 5 on the weekends. Strawberry season is very short. We only have maybe 2 weeks left. So,
I noticed that.
Yeah.
What happens here?
We're about 10 days in right now. We've got about 2 weeks left, and that's it. It's a short season, so you have to get out. You can't put it off. You have to come out and do it soon.
And if you get these when they're super ripe, they say that they can really help with putting a natural protective layer in your skin and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
Things that protect against skin cancer, stuff like that. So you better take those because I could eat them.
Yeah.
All right. He is once again in Hebron, and we have a link to where you can find him at whatshappeninginhealth.com. Thank you. Thanks for coming back. We just had to know if you saved the strawberry season.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. It was tragic to see that, but I'd actually never seen you, kind of lay that all out. It's quite a process.
It's not too bad. We did it and it worked, so that's all that matters.
Probably, something you just do every day, but not for us. All right. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks.
All right, coming up, look good, feel better, the newest trend in Botox, how it's being used for more than just reducing wrinkles. And Krista and Rachel in the house are going to talk to us about the power to pursue, keep that momentum going. Join hundreds of women coming up this year to change our community. It's all ahead of what's happening in health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Northern Kentucky Audiology, the Center for Closing the Health Gap, and Journey Light.
In Look Good, Feel Better, Botox isn't just for smoothing wrinkles anymore. More people actually using it, or the injectable facial filling, due to the thinning of the face. to Ozempic and other weight loss drugs. Donna, a nurse practitioner with the Advanced Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, says the masseter muscle in your jaw can become overworked. You can clench it and grind it in your sleep. And when that muscle is relaxed, it softens the jawline.
Neuromodulators like Botox have become a very popular treatment in the masseters. So initially it was used as a therapeutic use for TMJ. And this masseter muscle actually is a rather large muscle in the face. It goes from the zygomatic arch, or the cheekbone, down to the jawline. And if you clench, most people can feel it. So we inject a little bit in that muscle just to soften that up.
Who knew? If you'd like more information about this, 513-351-3223. All right, on now to Krista and Rachel. Remind us who you are and what you do.
Hi, Rachel DeRocher, founder of Power to Pursue, Incubator Kitchen Collective, Good and Local. A bunch of wild projects here around the region.
And I know, Krista, you just were part of Power to Pursue, so tell us what you did there.
So Krista Powers, I was on the panel talking about grief as teacher because I'm authoring my book on grief, and I work in the realm of a lot of grief with people living through Alzheimer's disease through Giving Voice Foundation.
So you may remember that we've also been following Krista in the journey, and I would be amiss if I didn't ask you. She's a breast cancer survivor. How are you?
I'm well. I said during the panel, like, a lot of times I literally hold my breast to reconnect with my body. Like, I'm in that phase of relearning my body in a whole new way.
You know, welcome to the new normal. Yeah. Well, praise God. We'd love to hear that.
Yes.
We want to kind of set you up and tell people we got a chance to stop by this amazing Power to Pursue thing. It's called Power to Pursue because I didn't realize it's not like a conference, it's a movement, and it supports women in just about every area of life and wellness. Watch this. More than 850 women came out to Music Hall for this annual Spring Summit event. From normalizing grief and loss,
I can already tell you are my people,
to how to lift each other up. The keynote speaker today, longtime broadcasting legend Katie Couric.
Our big claim to fame is my grandfather, who I never met, built Warren Buffett's childhood home. He was a builder and architect.
Those behind this fourth annual event tell us Power to Pursue was created to remind you you're worth it.
It's a women's empowerment movement whose mission is to create a safe space for women to be seen, heard, and loved in.
They took on the topic of what's called imposter syndrome as part of this event today.
So imposter syndrome is something that a lot of women do battle with. And so early in your career, I know you talked about there were plenty of people who, for some odd reason, didn't think that you had what it took, you know, to make it. So
Can you imagine?
Well, I can't.
The hope is that women will feel they can truly be themselves, but that
we're good enough and that we belong and that there's a room for us no matter what we do, from janitor to CEO, it all matters.
Because you see, good health is not just about a healthy body. It's about having healthy amounts of
community, friendships, advocacy, access, love, and understanding.
And, oh yeah, connection, or the feeling that we're all in this movement together. So that was just like a week ago, and these guys really wanted a week off, and of course, I wouldn't give that to you. But what I wanted was that momentum to kind of keep going. So first, tell me about the day, and then I didn't realize that you have events like this like coming up all the time.
It's really wild in what we've built in 4 years, Liz. So we put on this big summit every year. Friday, we still are looking for the word. I keep coming back to thank you, to see Music Hall full, from every volunteer who played a hand in helping us pull the day off. We had almost 50 women on stage speaking and sharing their story on Friday. It just was... I say a lot in Power to Pursue, we're just normalizing normal things, and I think we witnessed that. The feedback's been, oh my gosh, I heard this, I thought I was alone. Thank you for saying these things out loud. And you know, we're just women, and we go through a lot of the same things, but we don't have access to rooms where they're kind of being talked about in a very normal way. And so that's what we're seeing kind of unfold. And so under this whole entire body of work, there's a lot. We have teen programming, specifically working with girls that are in that 12 to 16. A lot of us are moms, and we're realizing that we're getting access to knowing that we're good enough in our 40s and 50s, and we don't have to do that. We can get it a little sooner. So teen programming, we have a Women's Wellbeing Summit that we've put on for 2 years that's hyper-focused on sexual, financial, mental well-being. We're currently, and we announced on Friday, so we're in Lawrenceburg, Indiana with programming, Cleveland, Ohio, and we just announced Columbus. So we're taking this movement on the road. And then here every month, almost every month, we do get a little break over the summer, but we partner with MadTree on a program called Ascending Women. And it is a monthly series. I think it's always a great intro to our community. It's a smaller scale. We host these at MadTree. And so we take off for the summer, but August we're doing a really cool author event where we will feature women authors here from the region and showcase them and their work. And then we'll also have a panel kind of covering what it's like to write a book from the publicist side to the author side and kind of everything in between. So it's really neat because, when I go back to like women, everything's accessible to us. We go through kind of all of these topics, and so we can kind of talk a little bit about everything from, delegation to menopause to grief to, we had an incredible session on AI on Friday where a group of AI experts came in and taught over 200 women how to get comfortable with it and learn it. So
otherwise it sort of becomes the enemy. So
that's right.
Now you said a grief session, and when you do something like that, how do you measure success? What did you get kind of for feedback?
That's a great question. So it's the feedback is what the success, and I even in the midst of the panel just really connecting eye to eye with women who are nodding, who are grabbing the tissue because they can relate. So I think when we really touch hearts and we share something that's relevant and vulnerable and raw and available to others, it lets them say, oh yeah, me too, right? Yeah. And then just all the conversation afterward that just unfolded into these beautiful moments of connection that allowed us to instantly dive into something that otherwise would have never been touched.
So we have a little video that we're showing of that day. Tell me, who is this for? You said we have stuff for teens, but who are you?
It's for women, and I think that's part of this. We get asked that a lot because it's like, well, what about, wait, I'm in marketing, or wait, I'm a mom, or I'm not a mom. Everything that's ever been built for women has been built through a very narrow lens. Women in news, right? And so you're not getting access to all of the other stuff, or you have to seek it, or maybe it's just you're learning or having these conversations in your girlfriend group. We see it entrepreneur to corporate. We see from C-suite down to startup. It really, everyone's welcome there. We had 14 to 82-year-olds in the room. And so we're really creating a space, Liz, where none of those titles matter. What matters is that women have access to the room with other just women.
It's interesting, if you look at a lot of the really successful people, like take Hillary Clinton, for example, they'll say they went to all-girls schools. And one of the things they didn't feel was held back. And so I can imagine that just having the group together makes you feel you're on equal footing and you can see and say and share.
Well, I think a lot of us, there's one seat at the table. And what we're dispelling is saying, no, there's never, you never have to go without a seat. There's always a seat at our table, and we're just going to keep building bigger rooms. I've already set my goal. We sold out at 850 this year, so great. We're going to push to 1,200 in 2026.
All right. Well, we're going to do the monthly thing in between because I think those small sessions are really good. So August, we'll put a link as soon as it's open.
I'll send it. I promise.
MadTree and the author thing, and Krista's going to show us her book here first. She promised.
Yep.
It's all happening in health.com. Thank you. Thanks for being a blessing to this community.
Thank you so much.
All right, just ahead, a warning about a common habit, especially if you have heart problems. We'll explain why on What's Happening in Health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Mount St. Joseph University, Elder Law Lawyers, and Advanced Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center.
I want to leave you today with healthy conditions. They say sitting is the new smoking, and it really could be for people who have previously had a heart attack, according to new research. It appears sitting for too long is especially dangerous. A study by the American Heart Association found many heart attack survivors were sitting or remaining sedentary for 12 to 13 hours a day, and those people were 2.5 times more likely to have another heart attack or die compared to more active people. Well, that is it for this week's What's Happening in Health. We are back same time next week. We hope that you will be too. Until then, everybody, stay well and stay tuned.